got preacher's credentials. You could order them and stuff like that. For back then, they were $10. I don't know what they'd be now, but anyway, none of those people, a whole group of them, could not believe that Brother Hay was not the guy that they knew. And you know the main reason why? They didn't know my testimony. They didn't know how God had changed me. Your testimony is an ever evolving thing. And how you live your life will help your testimony or it will hurt it. Make sense? So when Brother Hay runs into people that I haven't seen for years, I don't have to tell them that I care about them. They already know that because over the years, I never stopped caring about them or caring about them. And lots of times when I run into people, now not everybody's positive. I wish I could say they all were. That's not how it works. Some people still mad at me. And it's only been a couple of months ago we had a lady come to the church, and one of the things she told me when I was in the hallway was, "I can't believe you're still here." I know she thought somebody else was going to be here. I said, "Well, I'm not the pastor, Brother Michael is." I don't know. She didn't come back, so that probably did suffice. But it's okay, right? If she called me tomorrow, even though she wasn't very friendly, guess what? If she needs some, Brother Hay would go and pray for her. It's only been about 6 months ago, and a lot of people, I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but someone called me and wanted me to come pray for them. I didn't recognize the name. I didn't recognize the number for sure. And it wasn't Ed and Brother Ryerson either, but it was another person, was actually a lady. And I went to pray, but when I knocked on the door, I immediately knew who it was. I didn't recognize the name. Brother Hay's getting older. I don't remember everybody's name anymore. So uh, it's pretty good. I can remember Larry and Michelle because I have a niece named Michelle, and Larry's the same name as my brother. So I ought to keep them two okay. That's how I remember things now. I have to relate it to something to keep myself together. And I know Eileen and Leo real well because anybody can put up with my two girls. I don't forget their name. We'll leave that alone so I stay out of trouble. Right, Brother Eddie? and but my point is I didn't know who she was. But she had went to extreme measures to get Brother Hayes' phone number to call me. And when the last interaction we had at the church was not a good one. I mean, she said some pretty ugly things to me. And I was like, oh man, this might be interesting. Anybody ever have those thoughts? I'm thinking, well, this could be interesting. One of the things Sister Hay always, even to this day, still gets after me over. She goes, "You really gonna go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why wouldn't I?" Well, and I'm like, "Hey, man, there's something that the Bible teaches. You know what it is? We can't be afraid. Fear is how the enemy operates, right?" And I went and I went in, talked to him for a while, prayed with them, prayed about their son. And I want you to know that I believe with all my heart that God touched her. And I think a lot of times probably God protected me from recognizing the name. You say, why would he do that, Brother Hay? Because maybe I wouldn't have went. See, and I know this sounds crazy, and I've told Michael this before bunches of times and Don. We can't treat people like that. No matter how ugly they are to us, it don't ever give us a right to respond in kind. Because when somebody's reaching out, we got to remember we have the answer to all their problems. His name is Jesus. It's not us, it's not the church, it's definitely not money. I don't have enough money to start handling it out. I'd be in big trouble. I have just barely enough to keep Sister Hay and them happy. But, and that's questionable sometimes. But it's wait till my other grandson gets here. Y'all don't even know. They're going to be here for 2 weeks. He's going to spend the whole 2 weeks trying to break my credit card. That is his whole goal in life. He just wants to be with me sometime when my credit card don't work. But anyway, we'll just leave that alone. And I have to make sure which one I use. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, Sister Hay found that out. We went someplace and she was just adamant she's going to pay for something. I said, okay, and she gave them her card and they said, uh, it says declined. I said, well, honey, I told you they weren't going to take it. Well, I don't understand that. I'm like, I don't know. I give them mine. Everything was good. But here's what I want to tell you. Here's what you need to understand. God doesn't ever get declined. His mercy is never declined. His love for us is never declined. Does that make sense? We have to fight our own self to minister to other people. Now, that lady, I hadn't talked to her since, and I think she might have passed away, but I don't know for sure. I hadn't heard from her. But here's what I know. God give me an opportunity to show his love for her and to also share my testimony because I didn't let what she did impact me, right? And so when Brother Hay was in that situation, and and we talked about in Sunday school, the only place Jesus couldn't do miracles was in his own hometown. You know why? Anybody know why? I already know. That's the carpenter's son. He's not the son of God, right? Think about it. And so, what I always try to get across to people, your testimony is important. How you walk is important. How you treat people is important. We're not only God's hands extended, we are his hands, period. But how hard is it for us to get past our own stuff? Family chains only get broke when somebody steps in. Does that make sense? You know, Sister A and I were talking about one little girl that goes to church here and some of the stuff she's been through. And I told her, I said, listen, I understand all that stuff, but what we have to do is set all that aside and understand God already set it aside, and we're the ones that have the opportunity to minister to them. Now, this is going to shock you, but I believe this all my heart. When people come into this church, God sends them here for us as a church body to minister to them. Period. End of story. I don't care their background. I don't care about any of that other stuff. I definitely don't care about color of skin, all that kind of stuff. You know, just like when I saw Stuart the other day. You know what? And Jaime and them, I saw them, last year when we did pastor's appreciation over there because the mom worked at the grocery store, whatever that one is over there. Anyway, you know what? They ended up calling the other family to come see Brother Hay. I'm like, this is scary. Now, we haven't had them in church in forever. But you know what they understood? That we loved them. They understood Michael and Donna loved them. And when push comes to shove, right? That's the way church is supposed to be, and that's how it's supposed to be. And God gives us these great opportunities if only we can get out of ourselves. And I'm not going to lie to you. You can ask Michael over the years, even before Michael became the head pastor, all that lead pastor, all those kind of things before Brother Hay stepped down. I promise you, we had a lot of people that didn't come to our church because the status wasn't right. It's okay. But do you know what? When they got in trouble, guess who they wanted to pray for them? Isn't that funny how that works? Now, how easy would it be for us to say, well, we weren't good enough to do this? Well, I don't think we're good enough to pray for you either. Who's going to be in trouble if that's said? We are. But here's what I want to tell you. This is where it gets personal. We can't even let that thought enter our mind. And how many know the enemy's going to do his best to put it there? And if he puts one little ounce of doubt in your mind, how hard is it for you to believe God to touch him? Okay? It's just like with Brother Jimmy and them and some of the things that they went through. with Joey and all those kind of crazy things that happened. And it took forever for God to finally deal with him where he recognized who Jesus was. But we had to keep working on it. Okay. And there are so many people out there. So your testimony is very important. And in verse 30, go ahead and go there, Kaylee. Yeah, verse 30. And we're going to talk a little bit about this because sometimes it's important, and I'm glad Donna and Michael are here. Verse 30, baby. Go back, honey. Where I need you to go back to Philippians chapter 2 and verse 30. There you go. And people asked, and this is so important. The reason this guy was sick, I want you to read the reason. He was sick because for the work of Christ he came close to death, not regarding his life, to supply what was lacking in your service towards me. Now, I want to share this with you. Sometimes when you're doing what God's called you to do, it takes a toll on your life. And we've come pretty much full circle tonight. And what Brother Hay told you in the beginning, what we got to realize is why we do what we do. We're not doing it for any other reason but our love for Christ. That should be the motivation. However, you have to make sure that spiritually speaking, you keep yourself where you need to be. See, if Larry goes on the job and he hasn't prayed for a month, and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can you pray with me?" You're going to have a hard time praying for him, right? And I'm not trying to pick on you, but I just want you to think about it because it's true. All of a sudden, when they ask you to pray, the first thing the enemy does is bring a lot of doubt to you, right? And here's what I want you to understand. Church work is not how this is supposed to be. Church work is important. How many know the grass has got to be mowed, the place has to be cleaned, all those kind of things. When Brother Hay was young, and I know that Michael's mom used to give me grief all the time. He don't know all that, but she did. Okay, and one of the reasons why she give me grief, like I get off work so late sometimes on Saturday that the church grass wasn't mowed. How many know I don't want people coming to church with the church grass looking bad? So guess what? I know my neighbors probably didn't like me, but back then we didn't have as many as there are here now. Okay. So 7 o'clock in the morning, guess what Brother Hay be doing? I'd be mowing the grass. And I know I have to come and preach. And I get done mowing the grass, and guess what? We used to pick kids up. We didn't have nobody drive the van. I either went and got them or Sister Hay did. Hey, those kids didn't like me picking them up. They liked Sister Hay better because if I picked them up, they got to Sunday school pretty early. Okay. Sister Hay picked them up not quite as early. So they always would tell us on Wednesdays and stuff, they go, who's picking us up Sunday? And I go, me. And they say, can she pick us up? But anyway, and we didn't have anybody. And sometimes we had to go all the way out to Chalk Hill. Everybody here know where Chalk Hill is? You guys might not, but it's way out of town. It's probably 7 8 miles out there. It's a long ways anyway. I'm not sure how far, but it's a long ways. The other kids lived on a dairy, and you had to go all the way to the hospital, turn on that road, go way out there. I can't even remember how to get there anymore. Okay, but it was a long ways out there. And we go do that to pick up 3 kids or pick up 2 kids. Not always would they come. Okay. But we tried to be very consistent. And you know how it worked? Brother, hey, and that's what we were talking about tonight. I said, hey, that's why you got to get a hold of the parents. You can't trust the kids. They're not reliable. Even Brandon, and he comes to church all the time. He didn't get the message to bring a jacket. He didn't look at his phone since he's been home from school. Further saying from his mind. He had his mom out there playing wiffle ball. That's his new thing. Okay. But I look at that and I want you to know, I call him up and say, hey, on Saturday, It's okay to come pick the kids up. How many know most parents are very happy to get rid of their kids for a couple hours? And so we picked them up. You want to talk about a small youth group? I remember our first trip to Winterfest. Michael, do you remember that trip? You don't remember the tent and Sister Pam? Oh no, you went on this trip. Oh, oh, yeah. Well, whatever it was, I know that she's the one that took you guys. Wherever you guys went, you had to stay in a tent because we didn't have enough money to rent a hotel. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. It was some kind of thing. It might not have been. It was so long ago, Michael. It probably wasn't called Winterfest then. Well, you guys went to Fort Sumner, but that's a different thing. You guys had Billy Ferris with you. No, this was a Pam, and we didn't have enough money to send you guys in a hotel, and you guys took a tent. I think there was you and two or three other kids and Pam. And I remember Pam come back and saying to brother, "Hey, uh, I can handle the girls, but not the boys. So I don't know what you guys did, but you did something." Hey, here's what. Yeah, yeah. Donna was too young; she didn't go. And but here's what's funny. I had a Sunday school teacher one time. Just to show you about preachers' kids. This lady was a teacher. You know what she did? She came to brother, hey, after Sunday school crying because my son was so mean to her. I never forget. I was like, I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how this works. Yeah, Donna was a good one. They were bad. But anyway, I remember talking to her and I told her, I said, well, how do you teach the kids at school? Well, when Brother Hay started teaching high school, she was still teaching. I figured out right away why she had trouble. We'll just leave that alone. But I want you to understand some things. You got to be careful that you don't become so busy just doing busy stuff that you forget to minister. Because when everything's said and done, it's the quiet moments you spend, whether it's with our kids, whether it's with somebody that's older, somebody your own age, somebody a little bit younger. They're not going to remember all the good stuff. They're going to remember those moments that you spent time with them personally. Does that make sense? That's the key. And so when Brother Hay looks at these things, and I think to myself, okay, so we're at the end of this Bible study. So now you're telling us, Brother Hay, I got to be careful because the work of Christ can cause me to get sick and come close to death. Yep. Because sometimes I want you to think about the other side of this. How many missionaries have lost their life serving Christ? You know what's wrong with our church? We don't teach our kids about church history. We talk about not teaching them the history of the United States. How about the history of the church? Somebody like George Mueller that took in orphans and believed God to feed these orphans. When that guy died, he had calluses on his knees from praying, and God sending the food in from some of the strangest places and people showing up. And we talk about the moving of God's Spirit. How many know when you're doing God's work, He has a way, right, of meeting the need when you're doing what you're supposed to? And I always get aggravated over this. It's just a Brother Hayism. And I know if you're watching online, those that know me know my heart. But I think we got to be so careful because programs don't get anybody to heaven. Youth camp's always different. Winterfest has never been my thing. We've always supported it, but I just tell you, Winterfest has never been my thing. Okay? But youth camp always has. That's where Brother Michael got called to the ministry. That's where Bubba got called to the ministry, even though he's not doing it now. Think about all the other kids over the years that got called to the ministry in youth camp. Anybody know why youth camp is different than Winterfest? Winterfest is a lot of praise and worship and a lot of things like that. But how many know that youth camp's a completely different thing? I don't know. I haven't been in a long time. I don't ever go. I've never went to a youth camp. Okay. And none of that. I never even attended one as a kid. Larry and them did. We'll leave that alone. But that's an interesting story. You have to have him tell you sometime about him and Robert's adventures at a youth camp. But here's what I want to share with you. You know why youth camp's so important to Brother Hay? And Brother Michael knows the state overseer and Brother Hay came to blows more than once over that, not wanting to do it, period. And here's why. Those kids can't get cell service where the youth camp is. Back in the day, this is what I used to say, they can't get TV. They don't have telephones, the ones hooked on the wire. They didn't have anything like that. Guess what? They're exposed to something more important, more valuable than anything this world has to offer, and it's God's Word. But do you know what else happens? One-on-one relationships. If I say Brother May, Donna and Michael both have a whole different impression of him. And I remember when Brother May passed away, he was probably one of Brother Hay's best friends. And we were always really close. And powers to be, they do what powers to be do. But I'll never forget when the overseer walked into that place, he was overwhelmed. Brother Michael was with me. How many know it didn't surprise Brother Hay? They wondered, why are they having this funeral in the high school gymnasium thing, the auditorium, the biggest. It was the largest place in town, and it was filled to capacity. You wonder why that happened? Their church only run 25 people on Sunday morning. For years, that's all they ever ran. But on Wednesday nights, they fed the kids. And in Little Jow, you know what? I think they were the only church that did this. So guess what? On Wednesday night, they'd have 85 or 100 people in church. Only problem was they were all under 15. And what a lot of people don't know, his sister, because the church couldn't have afforded to do it, his sister attended a large church in Ohio, and they actually sent him the money to pay for them to feed them kids. But guess who cooked all the meals? Brother May. Guess what he developed with all them kids over the years? Personal relationships. We literally had a lady that worked up here. She's left town now and went wherever she went. She got through what she had to do. But anyway, her kids, she took them all the way back to Jow to go to youth camp and didn't even know that we were the same church as Jow until Brother Hay met her. And I told her, okay, and she couldn't come to our church because the program she was in was sponsored by a church. And if you're sponsored in that program, you have to go to their church. Okay? But she took her kids to that youth camp with the church from Jow. Do you want to know the real reason why she did that? That young lady got involved in drugs, all kinds of bad stuff. But Brother May ministered to her when she was little. And he ministered to her, and he ministered to her. And then when she got in all the issues, guess what he still did? Ministered to her. Think about that. And what brought her back to the Lord? And here's what's important. I hope you feel God's presence, and I'm going to close with this, like Brother Hay does. Here's what's important. She took her kids to the place where people cared about her. Have you ever thought about that? Because she wanted her children to experience that youth camp, but she also wanted them to experience that little church. And the people that are there now, I don't know how many they're running now, but probably not much more. Yeah. Are they doing good now? That it's a little bitty place, man, unless it's grown a lot. But I hadn't been there in a long, long time. But Brother Hay's saying, and my point is simply this. Don't ever underestimate your testimony. Don't ever underestimate your faithfulness. But most of all, never underestimate the God that you serve. There are people that give their life for Christ. This man got sick, but God healed him. How many know Paul is just a short time away from losing his life? Think about that. From losing his life for his relationship with Christ. So what we got to understand, God would never call you to do what he won't equip you to do. Make sense? Paul was equipped to give his life. This particular person was equipped. And I'm sure he was glad that Paul was there to pray for him, right? But think about the testimony when he went back to the Philippian church and they recognized that it was God that healed him. Because Paul says in these words that he almost died. And if it wouldn't have been for God, okay, he would have. So all I'm saying to you that I try to get across in this Bible study is we need to understand how important our relationship is with God, how important our relationship is to other people, and how important it is to push your own self aside to let God use you and your testimony to reach others. Every day that you're faithful, I promise you somebody's paying attention. When you're not faithful, do you know they pay attention to that too? Okay? So, in one sense, when they come to church and Brother Hay's still here, it's kind of funny sometimes because it's always funny to me when they make statements like, I can't believe you're still here. Hadn't been too long ago, one time last year, somebody came to me and said, I thought you died. I said, not yet. I'm still here. Okay? It's okay. I mean, no, Brother Hay didn't get mad about that. And even though whatever they said has no impact on how I'm going to treat them. Does that make sense? That's the key. Whether it's with our kids, whether it's with people in the church, whether it's with people we minister, we don't ever forget who we represent. One of my favorite things that people say sometimes when they're preaching is when they pray before they preach and they say, Lord, hide me behind your cross. In other words, don't let people see me, let them see you. Doesn't that make more sense? How many people say that anymore? How many want to step out from outside the cross, step in front of the cross, and are more than happy to take the spotlight? Church isn't about all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I promise you, nobody will remember the programs, but they will remember being in a youth camp and praying at an altar. They will remember that. I promise you. They will remember a counselor putting their arm around them. Now, can we force people? No. People still have a choice. But we can encourage them. And if they make a wrong choice, how many know when they go full circle? This is what I believe with all my heart. God took the children of Israel around that mountain. How many years? 40 years. How many times do you think they came back to that same spot? Okay, and there were a million of them. So probably by the time the first group got back around, the other ones were just starting again. I mean, have you ever thought about how hard that must have been to get a million people to go in one direction? I can't even get, never mind, I'm going to be good. I'm going to leave that alone. But do you understand what Brother A's saying? But isn't it funny that every time they came around, God hadn't went nowhere. And they could have went straight through. But how many know before they could have made that journey, they needed to get rid of the slave mentality? And God needed to turn them into warriors. Because the first thing they had to face was a real live enemy. And when people say to me, well, brother, hey, listen, everybody talks stuff. It's a whole different situation when you've been there. You know what I'm talking about. We've been to those places. It's easy to say, hey, this is what you do. It's a whole different thing when you're standing in that spot. Okay? I'm just telling you. But how many know there are times when evil has to be stared down? Period. End of story. And the church can't back up. I don't believe that for a second. God didn't create us for that. I don't believe that God will ever back up. I don't believe his word to ever back up. I'm thankful that he forever stays the same. And just remember what Don preached a little bit. God don't have nothing protecting our back because we're supposed to be going forward. you would stand with me. If you have offering, you can just put it in. I'm sure Kaylee take care of that after church and give me a lecture about it. But I'm glad you're here tonight. I hope I encouraged you. If you're struggling, I want you to know, whether you're watching online or whatever, God can touch you right where you are. Our job